Hi, I'm Batsheva Frankel from Overthrowing Education, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hey, welcome back. Steve here, and today I'm talking with Christina Hidek. Christina is a parent who thinks of herself as a PTO nerd. She is the founder of PTOanswers.com and great places for PTO, PTAs to go get resources, ideas, and support. Our focus is PTOanswers.com, getting more parent participation, growing parent leaders, and working with school administration. So much to learn. You're going to love this episode. Thanks so much for listening. Oh, by the way, before you go, it'd be so cool if you helped out the podcast. How do you do that, you ask? Well, here are 3 ways. One is tell a friend and share links. 2, you could go to my website and leave a review and subscribe. And 3, how about click on the link on my website homepage where it says, buy me a coffee. And by doing this, you could donate $1 or $2 or $5 or more to help me address, the costs associated with producing the podcast. That'd be so cool. You are awesome. Enjoy the show.
I love what it has done for me personally. I love what I've been able to do for my community, the school community, the relationships I've formed with other parents, but also teachers, administrators.
It's the Education Podcast, your favorite show, with lots of groovy guests and they share what they know. So crank it up to 10 and let your neighbors know that here's another show with Dr. Steve Miletto. Teaching, Learning, Leading K12. Teaching, Learning, Leading K12. Teaching, Learning, Leading K12. With Dr. Steve Miletto.
Christina Hidek is a recovering attorney turned professional organizer and certified PTO volunteer nerd. She founded PTO Answers 7 years ago to boost family engagement in schools and empower parents to improve their child's educational experience and school community through PTO involvement. She's been an active PTO leader for the past 14 years and hosts the vibrant 7,900-plus member Superstar PTO Leaders Facebook group. When she's not volunteering, you can find her in her garden, listening to the latest Catherine Center audiobook, or walking the family dogs. Our focus will be getting more parent participation, growing parent leaders, and working with the school administration. Christina, thanks so much for being on the show, and say hi to everyone.
Hello, I'm excited to talk with you.
Well, glad to have you here, and this is so cool because I am a recovering attorney, it seems like, and I'm a recovering former high school principal, and which PTO and administration can do so many cool things if they work together, which I can't wait to talk about stuff like that. So in your bio, Christina, you describe yourself as a PTO volunteer nerd, and you share that you've served for 14 years in your children's schools. Why'd you get involved in the school's PTO?
Really, I wanted to meet other parents. So I live in Cleveland, and we are home to 2 huge medical institutions, the Cleveland Clinic and University Hospitals. And so when I had my kids, I had a lot of friends who were in town because of either their own fellowship or internship or their partners. And so I have friends all across the country, but not a lot in Cleveland. And so when my kids started school, I thought, well, that's a surefire way to meet people. And I've also really had a history of giving back, giving of my time and talents. So it was a natural fit, I think.
Very cool.
And they stayed involved, I think, because I'm just a little crazy. So
Nice.
I love what it has done for me personally. I love what I've been able to do for my community, the school community, the relationships I've formed with other parents, but also teachers, administrators. Like the superintendent, she just retired, but she would drive down my street. And if I was out in the front gardening, usually weeding, she would stop and talk to me. Like, I don't know how many other people have that kind of a relationship with. She wasn't my boss, but we had this relationship based on my involvement. She had kind of initiated a strategic planning process a couple different times. And so I participated in both of they did it 3 times. This last time I missed out. The timing just didn't work, and it was a much scaled back version. But I got to know her that way. And really, we had a really nice relationship where I would have an idea or feedback. And because I'm always one to, I'll have an idea, or maybe I'll have like something that I don't think is working quite well enough, but I don't I always come in with a solution. So it's identifying something that could be better with a solution. I'm not one just to sit and complain and just, that's not me. I'm an action kind of based woman.
Nice. That's, having been in multiple high schools, and I went to places to fix things. That's how I marketed myself as a change person. And the point is, though, is that 2 out of those 3, there were some issues with the PTO that had to be gotten under control. And so some of the stuff that you were just talking about, I want to make sure that we kind of bring that to that conversation, which is, so what do you see the purpose of PTO as being? I mean, what is it? Why does it exist?
PTOs are really an extension of the school that enable parents to get involved with their kids' education in the school community. And it's not to replace or do what the school can't. It's really to be like I said, an extension of, and just add enrichment for the students, the staff, the teachers, the administration. It's really just to layer things on. Like, PTO should never be paying for the art teacher's salary. Like, that's clearly under the school's purview. But if the art teacher wants to do an art fair and needs some money for supplies to make that happen, well, then that's where the PTO steps in.
Love it.
And can really help bring, like, I love just to take people's ideas and bring them to life. Because Lord knows that all educators are overtaxed, overtapped, stretched out. And so if parents can come in and kind of be that support system to help make their great ideas happen, then why not?
Oh, I think that's a great idea. And I think it can be such a cool connection between the administration and the PTO to help make things happen. Although that's an interesting example that you gave there, someone deciding that we could sure use another art teacher or a art teacher. How about coming up with that salary for us? Nice.
Some groups are asked for that, and I'm always like,
wow.
Nope, because that is a slippery slope, my friend.
I can imagine. Jeez. That's wow. So that's going to lead right into this, which is any barriers that you've run into that were difficult to overcome while you're involved in PTO?
I guess gaining the trust of principals, because principals and their like secretaries or admins are really the gatekeepers to either good or not so good things for PTOs and their involvement. Like, I can think of, like, the one example I always give of my experience with I think I shared before you hit the record button, that I've had experience with like really fantastic principals, and then some principals who really needed some additional experience, positive experience, to flip it to in a positive aspect, to how to work with parent group leaders. So when I was in school in 5th grade, I think it was actually the PTO arranged a talent show. And there was this one cute boy that every girl had a crush on. And he got up there and got up on the stage and did Who's on First, the Abbott and Costello routine with his dad.
Love it.
And I just remember thinking how cool that was. And that was like a core memory, right? Because my kids are in college and in high school, so it's been a hot minute since I've been in 5th grade. This stayed with me. And how much I enjoyed the magic of that evening, seeing my classmates get up there and perform it. And it was at night, and it was, night when you're a little kid is just like really special. And so I enjoyed it so much and have such fun memories about that. I kind of wanted to do the same thing for my kids. So we were I think I was at the 4 to 6 grade building, because our school district's divided a little interestingly. It's K to 3 and then 4 to 6, 7, 8, 9 through 12. A little funky, but whatever. So I was talking with the principal, and I was like, we were in a PTA meeting, and I was like, so I really want to do a talent show. Like, and I had ideas for like how to control the crowd and how to make it like really fun for all. And she was just like, well, first of all, she had zero poker face whatsoever. So I could immediately see that she was not game for this idea of a talent show at all. A lot of red flags were popping up for her. And she's like, I just don't think the kids are going to be supportive. And I worry about that. And again, these are like grades 4 through 6. So they're just kind of at that beginning hormonal stage, but I think still pretty good. So anyway, she had a lot of concerns. I could not convince her. I was so frustrated. So my first experience was with like an awesome principal was in the K-3 building. So I went back to that principal and I was like, hey, can you go talk to the other principal and let her know that I can do this, that it won't be a problem? Because I had worked with that principal. I was PTO president for her second and third years in the building. She was a brand new principal. I think she was assigned like 2 weeks before school started, my son's kindergarten year.
Wow.
So it was one of those, yes, she was like diving head first in, but we really developed a really awesome relationship. And it got to be the point where we had such a trust level developed that I was just kind of informing her of what I wanted to do. I was never asking permission, like, because I knew she would support me 100%. So I had that relationship. So I went to Mrs. Taylor, I'll just name drop. She knows. I'm pretty sure I've told her this story before. And I was like, please, can you go talk to the other principal and like let her know? And I was like, because this would be so much fun. And I'm so excited about it. And I think it would be really great for the community and everything. And she goes, well, I can't do that, but let's have one here at this school. And I still had kids in both schools. So I said, okay, fine. And she goes, I'll even be your MC. And she has this wonderfully dynamic personality that is just so charming and charismatic and just, she's just wonderful. And again, you give her a mic and you know you're going to be in trouble, but you'll be in for a good time. Like she's just the perfect elementary school principal, like a hype woman, just like wonderful. Got it. So we have the talent show. It is fantastic. We have parents dressed up as Pokemon, like a Pikachu costume, dancing with their kids. We have another kid who's doing, I think there was a kindergartner reciting poetry, I mean, like really fantastic things. Nice. We had the other kids telling jokes. One kid was working with his dad to show off hockey goalie skills. Like it was really cool stuff. And it was like so fun. So everybody had a really good time. And then I was like, okay, well, I got it for one kid at one school. I guess I'll be happy about that. Well, then fast forward to, I think that was actually right around spring break. So then go to the next school year. And at the first meeting of the year, same with that, we're in the 4 to 6 building with the hesitant principal. She goes, hey, so I want to have a talent show. And I went, oh, now you see how it can be done. So we had one. And again, it was really fantastic. So I was like, woohoo, I totally scored by extending this core memory for me as an adult, as well as all of these kids. Just goes to show you that you really sometimes have to just keep working on the relationships because it is all relationship based, right? So that second principal, I just had to wear her down and nice. Looking at it from a different aspect.
Nice. It's so cool because a great relationship, we're going to talk more about this in a little bit, but it's just so important. And my first principalship, I was so focused on the things that I was hired to do in trying to make a change in the environment of the school. I really almost put an end to the relationship with the PTO president with me. And the good thing is that I was able to fix that because I was so busy on the other stuff. And I'd come from a school where everything just kind of flowed that I had never thought about what I needed to be doing with PTO. And she was able to talk with me about how she needed my help with different things. And we talked and stuff like this. And I realized, and that then for the rest of my career, that changed me in the different places I was principal and stuff like this, but especially there. But it's something I always felt bad about because I really didn't understand the role that I could play at the beginning, but she helped teach me. So
yeah. Or even the possibility, because I think you're so busy as a principal, you're so busy trying to keep your overflowing plate of expectations.
Yes.
Like from spilling over, that you really don't need one more thing. You just need like people to do their jobs and like, so you can handle everything else. But if you take the time, and that's the thing, it's like PTOs, they're powerful groups to leverage, and they can help you with so many things. Because let's say you have an edict from your superintendent says, get more families involved, right? Or have a Title I meeting and have parents show up to that.
Right.
Well, the PTO can make that happen. You can either have the meeting right during, before or after the regular PTO meeting, and you can leverage their communication systems to get more parents in there. Like there's a lot of different ways. Your math scores are low, have them do a family math night, or some kind of competition that they, could even turn it into a fundraiser. Like there's lots of different ways to collaborate. And the key is knowing what the other needs. Because if you're not on the same page, you can't work together, and you're probably going to be working against each other. And that is such a shame and such a waste.
You got that right. Definitely such a waste. That's crazy. All right, let me shift gears for just a minute, and we're going to come back to some more stories. You created PTOanswers.com. Tell us a little about why you created it.
I really wasn't seeing the resources that I needed to be successful as a PTO leader. Like, I think there's a lot of assumptions. To become a teacher, you have to go through a lot of training. Yes. To become a principal, you have to do more training, more certifications, right?
Oh, yeah.
Become a PTO leader, guess what you need?
I don't know.
Nothing. Your willingness to step up, but you often get zero training. You often are walking in with just whatever chutzpah you personally have, whatever life experience you have. And I'm sure that you can probably think back to your experiences with your other PTO leaders and figure out, like, if someone has never worked in a professional setting, if someone has never been through a meeting, if they've never worked in like a nonprofit, like my experience before coming to my first PTO was that I had worked on a nonprofit. I was in a sorority in college, and then I continued on in the alumni group. And so I had been through budget meetings. I had been through planning sessions, but not everybody has that experience. So you're just working with whatever you have, and that can be super difficult. And that's why I just really wanted to lower the barrier for parents to get involved, because so many people won't step up because they don't want to look dumb. Who wants to look like they don't know what they're doing?
Right. No one.
Who wants to admit that they don't know what they're doing? Right.
Right.
That's like really, really bad. I don't know why, because it's not like, I don't know. I don't know why that's my big thing, is like, you can always learn to do things, like have any negative self-talk about the fact that something is new to you. And so I just know that there's just so much, like, you have to have a willingness to step up, but then you have to learn how to do the job while you're actually doing the job. My friend compares that to like building the plane as you're flying it. Like, how frustrating of an experience would that be? So in starting PTO Answers, I was trying to kind of give the instruction booklet ahead of time so that people could not have to build and fly it, not have to figure it out, build it, and then fly it all at the same time. That you come in with the resources so that you can just do your job. And the resources that I have are all customizable, so you can like tweak them to wherever you need. You can use them as is if you need that as a starting point. It's kind of like a recipe. I always, like when you cook, you do a recipe for the first time, you should follow it really closely. Then the second time you make it, you can tweak it. Maybe it was a little too salty. Maybe it didn't have enough oregano, but make it as the person who created it, because they probably know a little bit more than you about it. So anyway, that's why I started. I just wanted to make it easier for parents to step up, because too few parents do step up. And there are so many negative connotations associated with PTOs and PTAs that it actually makes me mad. Like, I have a really great sense of humor, but do not make fun of PTOs and PTAs with me. Like, I had to stop watching. Have you ever watched the movie Bad Moms?
No, not seen that one.
Okay, well, I had to stop it midway because they were making fun of PTOs and PTAs, and it was the implication was that they are cliquey, have nothing else better to do than to make other people feel bad. And I got so mad at the portrayal that I just had to turn the TV off. And my husband's like, "You can't laugh at yourself." I go, "No, that's like really not funny because I think it's doing more harm than good."
That's a good point. That's a good point. I do understand the feeling, considering a lot of times principals are the butt of many of the jokes.
Yeah, where you're just like, well, we're not fully being supportive, so how would you handle that?
Right. There you go. All right. So, well, PTOanswers.com is awesome. You got all kinds of cool resources there, and I really appreciate the time and effort that you've created there, because that would have been very helpful. I wish I'd had it when I was principal, so to help some of the parents I was working with. But we have now, one of the things I got to point out on your website is your blog on the website is really awesome. You have some really cool articles, and the first one that just hit me in the face was I missed the beginning part of it and really focused in on the end of it. But the whole title is Working with Difficult Parents Plus Principals as a PTO Leader. And I love that. So
yeah, cut right to the chase.
Yes, very much. Very much so.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, I wasn't seeing, I'm a very just cut to the point kind of person because I'm busy, got a lot going on. And so I don't really have time. And so you're going to hear it from me how I think it is, you know? And so for me, that is one of the very hardest things about stepping up, is having people be critical of you or having that conflict. Because so many people run from conflict, they avoid it because it's more comfortable, but it's not productive. And so it can be really difficult to deal with that. And so I guess in that article, I just wanted to share some tips to help make it easier for other people to like name it and claim it. And then here's how you approach it, or here's how I approached it. Nice. Tweak to fit your situation. So, because not everybody's in it for the right reasons, right? Not all the parents who come up with a suggestion are in it for the right reasons. Like I had this one time, we were at, it was at the lower elementary school, so the kindergarten K-3 building. And it was, I think we had like a back to school bash, which was basically like a picnic on the playground in Blacktop
Gotcha.
Of the school. Like that was our fancy name, Blacktop Bash. It was a super fun event. All the families together, they all brought part of the meal. PTA had pizza and water, and we asked people to bring other things. We had like a membership table set up, and we were just trying to get people involved, because at the beginning of the school year, that's the best time to recruit, when people are fresh and haven't made other commitments and their kids haven't started up with all the gajillion activities for the year. And this mom came up to me, and I think I was president at the time of the PTO, and it was my second year. So I was a little more wiser to the world. And she came up with this like litany of all the things she felt the PTO was failing at and things that we should be taking care of. And I just looked at her and I was nodding, and I was like, oh my God, those are great ideas. Our meeting is actually next Wednesday at 7 p.m. in the library. So I'm excited to hear about this from you then. You think she showed up?
No.
No. Because it is way easier to flap your gums and to come up with the ideas about what you think is wrong and point out where other people are lacking than to shut up and do the work. And I'm all about getting a good idea, coming up with an idea, and shutting up and just doing the work, putting my head down, doing the work.
Love it. Love it. What's so cool is as the organization grows and it's got the right focus and you got the right adults who are able to work together in accordance along with the principal that works with them as well. And you end up with some really cool functions and activities, and especially trying to get, people to the school for different functions and things like this. One of the things that I got to talk about is, something that's quite common is trying to get parents to attend meetings and join the organization. So let's go there, since we just kind of went there with the parent who has all the ideas but doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. So I think a lot of groups can go wrong in trying to be all things to everyone. Like you're not always going to you're never going to find a magic time that everyone can come. but I guarantee you it is not 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yes.
Can guarantee you that. You are, and I think if that is the segment of the pop, if like none of your parents work, great. But I guarantee you they all are. And so pick a time after dinner. Now, this is the thing. This is the tension because the principals and teachers have had a long day. Do they want to stay? No, they do not. But it's not every night. It's once a month. They can make it happen. And if you're a principal, you can get your assistant principal to come. You can get your guidance counselor to come. Like everybody can trade off and take a month. It doesn't matter. You just have to have a school representative there. It doesn't have to be the principal. It's helpful when it's the principal. But if you really can't make it work, because people have lives outside of school, contrary to what the kids believe, the teachers and principals do not sleep in the school and live there. So I think picking a consistent time, like 7 p.m., provide some childcare. If you have some younger kids, you can get the high school like Key Club. They always need volunteer hours to provide childcare. Now, this is not like high quality childcare. This is like making sure your kids don't die childcare in the school gym. They're running around. The parents are meeting in the library. And if kids have to come in the library, we all have kids. So it's like I can tune kids out really well. And so I've never been offended if someone brings their kid because we all have kids. Hello. Yeah. That's why we're,
that's why you're there.
But having a plan for your meeting so that you're not meeting for 2.5 hours every time, nobody has time for that. Nobody wants that. So we say like an hour or less. If you can't do it in an hour or less, then you need to have a subcommittee meeting that is just going to talk about Carnival or whatever is taking up the bulk of the time. But you should be following an agenda. The leaders all the officers should have their reports together. They should know what they're going to say ahead of time. And as far as getting people to come to the meeting, they have to know about it. Like there's different challenges in every building. At our lower elementary school, we had the greatest success with. We had shipping labels that we printed little reminder stickers, and then we would trim them because labels are expensive. We would give them to the teachers and say to the teachers, like, just stick them on the kids right before they leave, because hopefully the parents are going to see the kids.
Excellent.
I think that works for probably elementary, and then middle school. There's different motivations for getting involved. So I think you can tap into those different motivations as the kids age. Like obviously high schoolers don't take kindly to having stickers stuck to them. So you can't use that tactic at the high school level. But there you have, like I said, different motivations. So instead of all the firsts where people were so excited in elementary school, high school, you have all the lasts. So you can really lean into that and look at what opportunities the PTO is making happen for a memorable high school experience. So you have like the 12th grade parents who want to come in and do, maybe your PTO is doing the after prom, maybe you're doing a senior send off or senior celebration, or maybe you're doing class shirts. It's just, how are they involved? That's going to be their motivation to come. So you just have to advertise what you're going to be talking about. But at any level, a consistent meeting time, about 6:30, 7 o'clock is probably going to be your best bet. And on the same night, like some groups switch days every month. I can't keep track of that personally. It's like too much. So pick a day, stick with it.
You got that right.
Not going to get everybody, but you're going to get a lot.
I love all this stuff. This is, one of the things that try to help with is like having student performances and things like that, or something that you could, because at least you're going to get that group. It's like, all right, we're going to start here. But it was always an interesting thing to try and figure out what might work to bring more people there, as well as then to join and actually fill out the form and then be there to help, as opposed to just being the person who makes the complaint. But
yeah, well, I think it's not, your involvement in the PTO shouldn't depend on whether or not you can go to the meetings. Like it's helpful so that you have like an understanding of what's going on and how the group operates, but it shouldn't be the deciding factor. Like there should be other ways to get involved. So the PTO really needs to be reaching out to the parents. And that's, again, where another partnership opportunity with the school comes into play, because unless people fill out that membership form, we're not going to have their contact information. So at our lower elementary school, they would actually give us the list of parents. Like we weren't selling it. We weren't sending them spam. It was like, hey, come to the trunk or treat, or, come to do the talent show. We were sending them that kind of information. But if the schools don't feel comfortable doing that, there may be some kind of board policy or who knows, then at least like you send out the information for people. Maybe reserve a spot in your school newsletter for like a PTO corner so people know what's going on. Like that little bit of support, it's not a lot, right? It's no skin off your back to have an extra page. If the PTO wants to put all their junk on an extra page, it's digital. You're not printing it out anyway. But that little bit can be such a huge support for the PTO and help everyone feel like you're in it together, which goes a long way to solidifying that relationship.
Very much so. It's very cool. One of a couple of great memories of working with PTOs when they were able to organize campus cleanup or organize some sort of activity that benefited some aspect of the community's needs or what we did and stuff like that. And it's such a cool, just events to see people come together. One campus I was on, it was a school that was built in the 60s. And I'm pretty sure that there was something that underground that was beginning to push up all kinds of big metal objects from the past. It was like it just kept. Oh yeah, it was like because had the woods cleared out to make it nicer and safer and stuff like this. So you didn't have hidden areas, and the more woods we cleared off, it's like, boy, there's just some of this old fencing that was probably from 1964 and stuff like this. Nobody even knew was there, and just all kinds of stuff like that. But coming together and bringing parents who, like you said, they may not be able to attend the meetings, but give them something to do, and they're there on that day, and they're picking up stuff and helping you do some neat right alongside the kids, and it's good stuff. So
yeah, you get the landscaper. Like
yes.
They have all the tools and they have the time, they have the talent and the skill to do it, and they just need to be asked. But it goes back to like knowing the needs of the school, right? Because that's a great example of if you're not on campus, let's say your kid's getting bused, so you're really not on campus, you don't see what's going on. How else would you know? And there's so much going on unless the principal came to the meeting and said, oh, okay, so funny story, like something's going on with our geography here, our land, and it really needs to get cleaned up. This is something we can partner on. How would, parents wouldn't know?
Oh, that's a good point. Just one funny note about that, though, is that we were cleaning up an area that had long overgrown and stuff like this because at one point what we uncovered was the area that some parents and the parents of some of the parents, some of the community parents, some of the community members realized that we just uncovered what used to be the smoking hole, which was where kids and teachers would go to smoke during the day, which was nice. So that went away. But
got to rename that, repurpose that real quick.
Yes, exactly. But it was just the ancient history of the place. Is that I know what this area is. This is the area where we used to. Anyway,
that's funny.
Funny stuff. So, all right. So let's talk about some other things. I mean, once you get parents involved, could you talk about growing leaders in PTO to enrich the school, to help out the school?
Wow. The possibilities are endless. In my own district, several PTO leaders, I helped a friend get elected to the Board of Education. So that's a huge leadership opportunity.
Very much so.
There. And there's actually been a history ever since I've had a kid in school. There's been someone who's been involved in the PTO, either as a leader in the PTO or a volunteer, depending on their time availability. There's been at least one on the school board. So that can be really valuable because they're going to bring that added perspective that not like I don't have like a deep history. I only know my own school board, so I don't know the makeup of other school boards, but ours has been like community members, PTO members, and then retired educators for the most part. especially recently. And I don't know, I just think it's good to bring that parent perspective, but also an involved parent perspective, because someone who's been involved is going to know the needs and the challenges and the opportunities, as well as potential roadblocks. They're going to have a greater understanding of that than just a community member who maybe hasn't been involved. But as far as like growing leaders, because so often people are hesitant to step up, but that's like, this kind of connects back to what we were talking about earlier, where people don't know what they're doing. And so they don't want to step up because you don't want to look dumb. You don't want to look like a fool. And so that's another reason why I started PTO Answers, and that I have the resources that I do, because I wanted it to be easy for anybody to step up and lead, that it shouldn't take such expertise. Like the only role that I have never had and will never have is treasurer, because I cannot do basic math. Like, it is embarrassing. It is quite embarrassing. So my mind just doesn't work like that. And I've just had to embrace it. And people go, oh, Christina, like if I count something, someone else will double count it just to double check.
Nice.
And I take no offense because they know me. It's like one time I was adding up a stack of checks for a fundraising event, and I added them up and got two different numbers. And then a third person added them up and got yet a third number. And I was like, no, I can't do this. Like, I'm just wasting your all's time. Just wasting your all's time.
So new witch jobs are not yours.
That job is not mine. Nope, sorry,
Gotcha.
my table. But pretty much everything else, like most PTO roles are best when you have like a generalist. Like I've been a president at every single building and every unit in my school district, but I've also been a secretary and a fundraising chair and a membership chair, like bigger roles like than that. But it's like that really helps you to understand the whole working of the group, so that you're not just getting pigeonholed into always being like the art contest. Like PTA has this National Reflections Art Contest program. It's not like I'm just doing reflections at every single building and that's all I know how to do. But I think the principals can be supportive of growing leaders by getting them the resources that they need, because it's just like anything else. You either have to figure it out for yourself, or you have to get the resources done for you so that you can just step into the role with confidence and have what you need.
Very cool. Very cool. It's so powerful when the school works together on all fronts. PTO along with the administration are two of those areas. And,
right.
How do you work at aligning school and parent visions and goals? How do you do that to try and bring that semblance of balance to them?
I love to sit down with principals. When I'm president, I always make sure to sit down with the principals usually when I'm coming in to a new year. I like to meet with them right after school is ended, because the end of the year is like such a crazy time. But you don't want to go too far into the summer to where plans are being made and you might have to rejigger things, and it's more work. And also when things are fresh, there's a greater appreciation of the opportunities. Like I always like to flip it to the positive, like not the challenges, but the opportunities. Like there are just a greater awareness of things, to get on the same page. And that
Nice.
I would take back what the principal would say during these meetings to the rest of the group and be like, okay, so here's their plan. Like, here's their vision. Like they really like this event. This one they felt, wasn't as well attended. So maybe we could think about doing something different for that. But really it's just having that conversation. And then I personally recommend meeting with like principals when you're a president and PTO president, like every month, just checking in, like just keeping those lines of communication really open and being honest about things.
Love that. Good stuff. That's, it's just so important, because I think that, just a note, and it's like, I've worked with a lot of different PTO groups, and, just the ability to create this whole, create a focus that's on the school and the families and the kids by coming together and working together is just so good. I just like that. Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, really good things happen when families are engaged, right?
Very much so.
Because you have like my own kids, I think they probably would have succeeded if no matter if I was involved or not, but I think it definitely made them more aware that they had an elevated like profile, I guess. My son, my oldest, when he was going from 8th grade to the high school, I said, "What are you most looking forward to?" And he goes, "Well, one thing are the desks because they'll be connected or whatever." He really wanted the connected desk and chair situation. I don't know why that was so appealing, but it was to him. And he goes, "And also no one will know who you are." And so like, because I think that they know who he is.
Right. Oh, I understand what's being said there.
He wanted to be anonymous. And I said, "Oh, actually," he goes, Who do you know?" And I said, Assistant Principal Fuller and I were on the strategic planning committee together. And he goes, "Oh." I was like, "Sorry to ruin your life, buddy." I go,
That's funny.
"I'm everywhere. You cannot escape me."
That's hilarious. I like that. Nice. Yeah, that comes with the deal sometimes when you're.
I think on part it's been really good because,
Cool.
like, I don't know. I just always really enjoyed that, and so that's part of the reason why I stay involved, because the teachers and the administrators do know who I am, and so they do watch out for my kid more because they know I'm paying attention, and so not in a bad way.
Right.
I'm just saying they just do. Just the relationships that I've had with the teachers, and it's funny. My oldest is now a junior, my youngest is now a junior in high school. So we're on the home stretch, baby, totally on the home stretch here. And it's just so funny because I'm no longer PTA president. I'm out of that role because other people need to rise up because I'm done in 2 years. And it's like, I can't take everything with me. I want to be here as a resource for them. But just the relationships that I have with the staff after developing this after 6.5 years, is just so fun and just so different. Because I'm like, I can totally help with, XYZ. Like we have a new principal this year, and actually all new administrative team, all new to the building.
Wow.
And there's been some communication issues. And so I was talking with one teacher and I was like, "I think I can help with this." I was like, "I think I have some political capital to spend with the new principal, and I think I can help." And it's not out of like telling her what to do or telling her what she's wrong about, but just an opportunity of, hey, so like, maybe think about it like this way, So the teacher was very appreciative because she didn't feel like she was in a position to say anything, but just goes to the power of the relationships where you can kind of step out of what maybe would normally be acceptable and just push that edge to like bring people closer to where they needed to be. Because it's not a power dynamic thing at all. It was just like, I want to help get y'all on the same page because you're both working very hard. And it's like the cartoons where your legs are spinning, they're not hitting the ground, you're making no progress. And it's like, y'all are working very hard. I'd like to have forward momentum for both of you because ultimately, again, it's going to make my kid happy, right? Which makes me happy.
Very much so. One of the things I always liked was when the group came up with unique ideas, and sometimes it was taking from another PTO or especially elementary school, because when you're at the high school level, like you were referring to before, there's some things that people start, when they get to the middle school, and especially when they get to high school, they feel the kind of pushback that there might exist from their kid and stuff like this, and so they may not be as connected to the school. And so I always thought it was neat when the PTO did things that were kind of flashbacks to the elementary school, but also the parents welcomed them, because I love the way you described it before. Elementary school, it's the land of firsts. High school is now the land of this might be the last time type thing. And so, like, I remember we really need to get the word out about something that was coming up, and the parents from the PTO organization, they organized this big donuts for dads and muffins for for moms and stuff like that. And it's like totally stealing from the elementary schools in our area. But it works so well because they're out there handing out flyers as people are sitting in these lines and all this sort of stuff. And we had probably some of the best attendance at one of these events ever that we needed to get people to, and so they could find out more about what was going on. But I love it when things come together like that.
Yeah, well, I think there's a hesitancy to hurry up and make our kids older than they are.
Right.
Especially at high school. I helped fundraise and really organize after prom 2 years ago. And I was asking the kids, like, do you want to do a carnival? And they were all very enthusiastic. And I was thinking of it as like, let's organize a carnival for the elementary kids to come to and like fundraise that way. And they're like, oh, no, we want to do the carnival stuff. And I was like, what? And they're like, and field day. And I was like, okay. All right. We can make this happen. So it's just like, sometimes kids just want to be kids. They're like, yeah, we want to do like kids stuff. And I was like, okay, well, this probably makes sense because they probably won't want to be doing this when they're either working, or off to school, off to college. So
right.
It was just, it's funny because I'm like, I would not think you guys would be down with that at all. And they were like, oh no, we're so excited about this. I'm like, oh, okay. Who knew I just had to get like playground equipment and chuck it on the football field and you guys can have right at it.
Kids are funny. I used to like organizing, not real intramurals, but that's really what they were. Okay. And it all started out of, I like to do pickup games of soccer with the kids and stuff like this. And so I had some teachers who were willing to create more than that because we wanted to get more kids involved in things. And so we had lots of different stuff. We had basketball and soccer and a bunch of different things. But one of the events that the kids really wanted was kickball.
Yeah.
They loved that.
It takes almost no skill to do that.
Yes.
Like anyone, literally, like I was on a kickball team in college with my sorority because, again, not a lot of skill. No math skills, no athletic skills with this woman. But yeah, kickball is awesome.
It is awesome. And it was so cool because there were a lot of kids who came out for kickball. And it was just meant to give them something to do. And it was so cool to see that happen. And I know exactly what you mean when you talk about the things that they like to do. Because I used to coordinate. We got together and we're trying to figure out what to do about the day before spring break. All right.
When everyone's attention is so dialed into academics.
Yes, exactly. It's such a wonderful academic day. And
it's so much done.
And I was talking to some of my elementary school colleagues and I came back and I said, you know what we need to do? And this was such a cool cooperative between the team of teachers and the PTA and the and administration and so forth. But we created a field day. And what was funny was the first year I had people tell me, most of the kids aren't going to come to school that day. And I said, well, maybe that's a good thing. And because we could always go into some of the issues that happened the day before field day, before spring break. But it was cool because the kids we did lose a chunk of the group that didn't go, that didn't want to do field day, which was fine. But what they weren't expecting was I had placed team members. I had replaced I had put administrators and some very good staff members who play the role of this, which is if kids tried to come back on campus to participate, they hadn't come to school that day, they were not allowed on campus.
And they missed out.
Yes, they missed out, and we made it a miss out. No, you weren't here today. You got to go, man. You can't come back. And the next year the first year we probably had 50 to 60% of the school participating. The next year it was like 85%.
It's awesome.
It was, and they were playing flag football, and there was any number of things. It wasn't all sports. Some of it was academic stuff. Some of it was learning how to. We had some professional hairdressers there. We had some bodybuilders. We had some different people like that. But the point is that it was just amazing to me when all the adults get together and you make something like that happen. And then the day before spring break became a fun thing. It's like
yeah. And well, what great experiential learning though. I mean, just like talk about like just bringing it home and making it real world. Like, I think that's wonderful.
It's
So
cool
what
stuff.
a great thing. And I could see like the PTA would be all over that, because all you have to do is ask parents, like, what are you good at? Like, what
Yes.
can you show them?
Exactly. It's good
Yeah.
stuff. Good. I love things like that. So I got to ask you, because one of the things that you talked about briefly, I mentioned in your bio, you have this amazing Facebook community. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I just started it. I just wanted to have a home base on Facebook, kind of, where people could come together in a non-judgmental, non-drama, trauma. I don't generally have time for drama, trauma. I generally shut down people who are trying to, I don't know, act like they're in middle school. But it's just a fabulous group of supportive people. And I cannot believe it, I think there's closer to 8,000 people now. Leaders all across the world, coming together. So it really is an international group with just different ideas. People come in with all different kind of experience levels. And now the group has been around for about almost 8 years, I think. So the archive of, sometimes the chatter is low. And so I'll be like, what are people not participating? And they're like, oh no, we're just searching and finding everything we need. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Glad to be a resource for you.
Nice.
So it's nice because you can get, or, I have the website in my blog where there are more in-depth articles, but sometimes you just need like a quick hit answer. Little, like, people will ask for help for like how to name something, like a name for a program. Because maybe they're trying to make it super inclusive, to where you alluded to like the donuts with dads and the muffins for moms, but maybe mom's not in the picture. And so the kid will feel left out. So you do muffins for, I forget the name. Oh, I think we did donuts for grownups.
Nice.
Like, just to broaden it out, because someone has a grown up in their life. They can bring their neighbor, they can bring their aunt, their uncle, their big brother. But just to make it more inclusive. So that's kind of some of the sort of things that we talk about, but it's not just for the volunteers. Like, there are several, I shouldn't say several, there are many administrators in there, and teachers too. Because again, you got the T, right? Parent, teacher. It'd be awkward to add principal in there too. The PTO, weird. So anyway, and all principals are teachers first, right?
There you go. Nice.
So yeah, it's a really nice group. And a really nice resource where you can come in at any experience level, and no one's going to be like, what a stupid question. Like, no one says that. No one says that. They'll just point you in the right direction for things. So it's really a nice resource.
Love it. I love it. Getting close to finishing up, I got to ask you this. If you had the chance to talk with an audience of new school principals, what would you want them to remember most about your talk if you were sharing about working with the PTO?
Ooh, what would I want? I guess not to be put off by the unknown, and just to be open to the possibilities. I had one principal who really did not like me. And I was like, what is his problem? Like, everybody loves me. And another PTO member said, it's not about you. He just had like a really bad experience, and he's extrapolating that experience to you. And I was like, well, someone needs to tell him that I am like wonderful. So I guess if you're new, take full advantage of it. And if you have the wrong mix of parents, look for ways to make it right. So that's like a whole bunch, I guess, because there's not just one thing, because it's complicated, right?
Oh yeah.
And the makeup of a PTO changes from year to year, because it just depends on the mix of personalities. Like, we used to, in my own group that I'm currently involved in, used to have some parents that were especially difficult, like really difficult. Like, one person said it was illegal for us to give past date chips to kids because it was going to poison them. And I'm like, oh, they just are less tasty. There's a bunch of junk in them anyway. She's gone, thankfully. So now we still give them to the kids, like, for free. We're not selling them to them. It's just like, hey, you want a bag of chips? And they're like, yeah, slightly stale Cheetos. Great. Thank you. So not a big deal. So I guess just be open to like that it's going to change, but also know that you can be, and maybe this is a greater greater lesson. Know that you can be in control of that relationship, and that you should be, a leader for, just as you're a leader for the educators in your building, you can be a leader for the parents and the parent-teacher organization by giving them the resources that they need. Like, you don't have to be at the whim of that personality mix, that you can really take charge, and it's not going to eat up your time to do it.
I love it. That is awesome. Christina, where can our listeners find more additional information, connect, and learn more? And let's get you to tell them exactly where to find all that stuff.
Sure. So I'm on YouTube as PTO Answers. I'm at Facebook. You just search PTO Answers. My Facebook group is the Superstar PTO Leaders group. And of course, at PTOanswers.com. And people can feel free to reach out to me. My email is Christina@PTOanswers.com. So I'd love to hear from anybody with questions or challenges or ideas or anything like that.
Very cool. Very cool. And I'll put that information in the show notes. So I got one last question for you, and it goes like this. Do you have a teacher in your past who made a difference in your life? If so, who was it? And what would you say if given the chance to say thank you?
Ooh, okay. I'm going to cheat. I've already told you, my mom is actually a teacher.
Nice.
So I'm going to cheat. And she's probably been my favorite teacher. And I tell her thank you all the time. Because she helps me out with my kids. She helps me out with my business. She helps me out with, she is a shopping partner in crime, and we do all sorts of stuff. So that is kind of a cheat answer, but it's true. She's been the most consistent teacher in my life.
That's cool. That's not cheating. That's awesome. So,
okay. You're like, I still award you points. Great.
Christina, thank you so much for talking with me about your website and organization, PTOanswers.com. Getting more parent participation, growing parent leaders, and working with the school administration. This has been awesome. Wishing you the best in all you do.
Thanks so much.
Hey, you have been listening to Teaching Learning Leading K12, a podcast to help you help kids achieve their dreams. Teaching Learning Leading K12 is a member of the Education Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. Teaching Learning Leading K12 is a member of the podcast network based in Canada called Voice Ed Radio. Voice Ed Radio, your voice is right here. The opinions expressed on Teaching Learning Leading K12 are those of the guests and host. Teaching Learning Leading K12 is intended to share ideas, advice, and suggestions. Teaching Learning Leading K12 is produced for educational purposes. Hey, thanks for listening. It would be awesome if you visited my website at stephenmiletto.com and connected with me, left a review, and listened to more episodes. And by the way, you could also share it with your friends, with your family, and your colleagues. Thanks so much. You're awesome.